And we're back, the Duran Show. Matt, Mitchell, how are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Living the dream.
Love it. We are we're actually prepping to go to a tournament next weekend. So we have a kind of a cool idea tonight. We're basically going to talk through our ideas, what we're going to be taking to the event next weekend. I'm sure we'll unpack the event once we get there. So kind of a preamble to what's to come, a foreshadowing. We'll be able to follow it up afterwards with some detailed bat reps to see if our ideas panned out. But before we get into that, we had a couple cool rules, ideas / questions that came up that'll be fun to unpack. So without any further ado, the first one, it's an army that I play a lot. And actually, it came up again recently. We had a casual game locally, and it's Angmar's Gullivar. So there was a lively discussion that came up with Gullivar's strength of body, strength of will rule, and how that interacts with the game in the middle of the game. So interested to hear what you guys have to think. I mean, I floated this to you ahead of time, so you're not hearing this for the first time. But let me give a quick background on what the controversy was about, and then I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So, scenario: Gullivar, strength of body, strength of will. It's the special rule where, in conjunction with I think it's there's a I'm blanking on the rule. Let me look it up. The one where his wounds, his attacks, and his courage are all equal. So hold on, I got the Hobbit book open. I'm switching to the Lord of the Rings book. Immortal Hunger. Nope, that's the one we're talking about. So strength of body, strength of will. I apologize. So that's the one where Gullivar's attacks, wounds, and courage are always equal, right? So then the Immortal Hunger special rule says that Gullivar regains a single wound for each model he slays in combat. And then it qualifies it qualifies some brutal power attacks, and it says he can't go above his starting profile of 4. But that's a special rule. So the use case or the scenario is if Gullivar, let's say he's got 1 attack. Let's say somebody was shooting him down. He finally gets into combat. Gullivar's got 1 attack. He charges in. So he's got that monstrous charge. He wins the combat against, he charges a model. He gets countercharged by, say, a maximum of 4 people. He wins the combat. He knocks everybody down. So his 1 attack turns into 2 because of the charge. His 2 attacks turn into 4 because everybody's knocked down, so he's trapped, making strikes. But he gets 2 base attacks to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
With the first attack,
he has 2 strikes. Say that.
2 strikes.
Yeah.
2 strikes.
Yep.
He has 2 strikes. With the first strike, he kills somebody. Looking at and then in rule, I think it's rule page 47 of the multiple combats, it says when a model is reduced to 0 wounds, they're immediately removed from play. The Immortal Hunger rule says when he slays an enemy model in combat, he regains a wound. So if I'm all charged by warriors, I kill somebody with the first attack, do I get a wound back as I kill that model, which means I get an additional attack back that I can then allocate out to the combat that I'm currently in. So did that make sense? I rambled a bit for there, but hopefully that came across clear, the crux of the question.
Yes, so the juxtaposition is, does the regaining of the wound and from Immortal Hunger, thereby bringing in strength of body, strength and will, happen during and throughout the combat or after the combat phase?
Yeah, that's a way better way of saying it. Yeah. Does it happen before or after? Does it happen during or only after?
And so if you look at the order of operations, I don't know what Matt's going to say, but I'm just jumping in here. Order of operations obviously is dual rule, loser backs away, winner makes strikes, remove casualties. That is the order. And what you're referring to is multiple combats, where you versus multiple people, models that are reduced to 0 wounds are removed immediately. And yeah, I could see that. But the only other thing I found was on page 47, which states that if a model with multiple attacks wins a fight, They may make one strike for each attack on their profile when striking their victim. You may choose to fully resolve these strikes one at a time, including using any might, or all together if you wish, so long as both players understand exactly what is happening. For more on resolving attacks, see page 47. Oh, sorry, so this is on a different page. But that, to me, is directing very clear that you're removing casualties after the attack, after the fight, that you look at his profile at the time and you resolve your strikes. You remove the casualties, and then you regain his wounds based on those. I don't think he can gain attacks back mid-fight, based on what I was reading there.
Makes sense. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I think there's two things that this can play out on. One of them's fairly easy, so we'll start with the easy one. Let's assume that Gullivar on one wound declares a heroic combat and charges somebody. He wins the heroic combat, killing one person, regaining a second wound. Therefore, I think if he charges after the heroic combat, I think everybody would agree at that point he has 2 wounds when he charges the second hero. Therefore, he'll get 2 attacks plus the charge bonus, 3 attacks. Everybody agree with that one?
Yes.
That's the easy part of this scenario to unpack. But Gullivar charged, let's just say he was charged, he didn't do the charging, by 4 models. He wins the fight, rolls a 6 with his 1 dice, he's lucky. The reason that I think this is, I'm actually probably going to disagree with Mitchell, because strength of body, strength of will says Gullivar's attacks and courage are always equal to his remaining wounds. Always being the key thing. So I think if you resolve the first strike, he regains a wound immediately and then has a second strike available. So I think there is a scenario where he could go up to 4 attacks in that, just the way it's written.
So you guys are all both referring to his wounds and courage, or his attacks and courage are always equal to his wounds. And so I'll phrase this to you then. Is Gullivar affected by Harbinger?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, how does that work then?
Well,
Whatever
actually,
his courage,
that's a
whatever his
good
courage is
question.
-1.
That's a good question. His courage is always 4, but then it's -1 after the effect. So it's a really good question because it throws into this always.
No,
But I think it's the order of operations. His courage value is always equal to his number of wounds, and then afterwards, negative effects come into play.
I love that question, Mitch, and
I think it's a great question.
I'm not saying it's not a great question, but I would say because we've talked about this in multiple different settings. Think about attacks. So if his attacks are always equal to his wounds, then he wouldn't get monstrous charge. He wouldn't get the additional attack for monstrous charge because his attacks are always equal to his wounds. So playing it out that way, that doesn't make sense. That seems like it's irrelevant. So that's breaking the always part, which means in my mind, this is clearly saying his profile, when you're looking at it, is always equals to his wounds, and then you add modifiers.
Correct. I would agree with that because I also agree with the Harbinger. I think I heard other people arguing that he's not affected by Harbinger, which I completely disagree with because, like you said, that means he's not affected by monstrous charge either. Okay,
which I completely disagree with.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
You can't have one or the other. You can't have one or you can't pick and choose. So if you're gonna say you're not affected by Harbinger, you're not affected by monstrous charge either. But it's this always thing. So we're agreeing that always is you look at it at the start and then apply modifiers. Right? This is the stage we're setting. So what are your attack value? My attack value is 1. So I make my strikes. We resolve the strikes. We remove casualties from play. That ends the combat.
Yeah,
that's fine. And plus, I always want to rule in whatever makes Angmar and especially Gullivar worse.
Well, in that
doesn't
case,
stack.
I've got a whole nother line of arguments to make here.
Clearly, only has 1 strike, thereby making Angmar less popular. Done.
So I think this is a edge case because I think I've had 1 or 2 use cases where this has come into play in the entire time I've played Gullivar. So it's an outlier. I will then say, Mitchell, what you just laid out is very logical. And I looked through, in kind of preparation for this episode, I looked through what I thought was every hero in every rule book available to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
No hero has anything that impacts his attack characteristics, except for magical powers. But magical powers are clear that the effects of the power last for the entire phase. So those are permanent. It starts at the beginning, it goes all the way to the end. So no model that I'm aware of that I saw has anything that messes with the attack characteristics of a profile.
Right.
And then you have cavalry or charging, which you could get +1 to your attack profile.
Right.
So Gullivar is totally unique in this situation. He is an outlier. He's by himself in the fact that he has his attack value moving at ever, let alone in the middle of a turn. So the reason I thought this was interesting is because the use cases where this came up, the person I was playing against was trying to kill Gullivar. So he had brought in extra people to trap and kill Gullivar because, Gullivar's 1 wound left. Well, if you rule that Gullivar could basically get more powerful as he's attacking, that makes it a lot more risky for somebody, especially if a banner, it makes it a lot more risky for that person to try to go for the blitz kill. If you rule that he is static, Mitchell, as you said, where the attack characteristic is locked in at the beginning of the fight for that fight, it can change after the fight's resolved and your hero combating or marging. It would be different. It resets there.
Because the fight's resolved at that point. That's what I'm arguing.
The fight is resolved. That I think it makes sense. It would just be really a cool little trick if Gullivar got more. He basically got you're feeding him, so he gets more powerful mid combat. Yeah. That is crazy. He could be 4 wounds by the end of the. He could regen all the way to the top with 1 lucky roll.
Yeah. Now let me ask you guys a different rule, but I think the same logic would apply, so we can check for consistency. So Shagrat in combat, no might left. He's fighting, let's call it a Minas Tirith captain and 2 warriors. Shagrat's first strike, no might, kills the captain. Second strike, puts 2 strikes on one of the warriors, misses the wound roll by 1.
Ooh.
Does the might come back immediately or afterwards?
Immediately.
Okay, then I would say if we decide that as a collective team, then the same thing would apply to Gullivar and he gets his wound back during it. Because the wording is almost the same for Blood and Glory.
I love it. I'm
possibly not, but I think it's a similar use case.
I do.
All right,
I do really enjoy that.
I'm reading it right now. If this model kills an enemy hero model in a fight, they immediately regain a single point of might spent earlier in the battle. Now, I will agree with Matt because it says specifically immediately regain a point of might spent. And if you're resolving strikes 1 at a time, that would benefit.
Gullivar's rule says his attacks are always equal to his wounds, and he regains a wound every time he slays a model.
Say immediately.
Models are immediately removed from play once they're reduced to 0. Once they're reduced to 0 wounds.
All right, Gullivar. Immortal Hunger. Gullivar regains a single wound for each model he slays in combat. Rend is the only brutal power attack that Gullivar wounds in this matter. This can never take him beyond 4. So basically what I just read there is in combat. So would you resolve a combat all the way? So for each wound...
No, not each wound. Each model he slays. That's the...
Yes,
so
he regains a wound for each
single wound
slays.
people. Matt summed this up really well, I think. Do you believe that these special rules can happen during the fight, or do you think they happen at the end of the fight? I think that was a great way to summarize it. And now, Matt, that you brought up the Blood and Glory special rule, where we're all saying that would immediately impact, because you would want to think about Birder. If Birder's the one to kill a troll, well, no, that would probably end the fight.
Well,
another monster hero, Birder's banner.
Blood and Glory is great. I think that's great, but it also says the word immediately, where Immortal Hunger does not.
It says always. Always and immediately are
but
like.
He regains a single wound for each model he slays in combat. So do you say, okay, he slayed a model in that combat, therefore I don't regain the wound until the combat's resolved completely? Or is it during the middle of that combat? Whereas Blood and Glory says immediately.
As a Gullivar player, I would love to say that means he gets it as the model's removed.
So going back to the one paragraph that I brought up earlier, do you guys think this even has relevance then? If a model with multiple attacks wins a fight, they make one strike for each attack on their profile when striking their victim.
I think that's why I went through and read everybody's profile, because I was looking for heroes with any type of special rule that messes with their attack profile. And what I found, and again, I could be wrong, you guys call me out or somebody ping us with the exception to my logic here. No other hero or special rule that I found in the entire set of rules messes with the attack characteristics.
Yeah, but let me break in here. Mitchell brings up an interesting point.
Oh, hold on. Matt, I got the caveat I'm just thinking of. I'm not counting the ranger profile or the blade roll where if you're charged by multiple people, you get +1 attack. I'm considering that similar to a cavalry charge. So I think it's the elf rangers, the hunter orcs. No,
the hunter orcs just get 2, and the rangers get 1 for everyone in combat, and that's elven knife fighting style or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
So it's for every model that's in addition to the first person, you get +1 attack. I was considering that as similar to the cavalry charge rules. So
those you all know before combat starts how many they're going to have. But the way Mitchell just read that, if you want to put your inner lawyer on, you could say that the answer to Gullivar is it depends. Because if Gullivar starts...
Okay,
No.
You're talking to too many lawyers. It depends.
Hear me out. Because the way Mitchell read it, in the scenario I laid out, if Gullivar is charged and only has 1 attack, when he kills the first one, it's over because you're saying I have 1 strike, combat over. However, if Gullivar with 1 wound charges and has 2 attacks and he says, I have 2 attacks, I'm directing my first one at this model. Afterwards, I will deal the remainder of my strikes. When he finishes the first one, he still has an attack left, at which point he has another wound and has 2 attacks left. So I think that you could break that up and say, if he's charged with 1, you only get 1. If you have 2 and you get an extra wound on the first one, everybody knows there's more yet to be resolved.
I don't like that answer either, honestly. That's worse.
But unpack that though, Mitchell. Unpack why you don't like it.
Because now you're saying
besides that, it just feels gross. Like, let's be honest.
Okay. So you look at an attack profile and you say, okay, Gullivar has 2 attacks. You then win the duel, and then you make strikes, 1 strike for each attack on their profile when they're striking their victim. And that's what I would say.
I don't think we're disagreeing with you. I think we're all reading that the same way. I think the question was, does that attack characteristic get locked in at the beginning and cannot be modified, or can that attack characteristic be modified in the middle of all that? And I think it's weird to me. So again, my hypothesis of no other hero or model has this type of changing or fluctuating raw attack characteristic. Gullivar is off on an island by himself, and I wanted to see what you guys thought, because it would be an incredible safety net. He's D5, he's a glass cannon, 200 points. You're always looking for ways to keep him alive, especially when people get some wounds on him, but can't kill him.
You're basically trying to turn Gullivar into an Ent by bludgeoning through his way through all the warriors. Oh, I killed that warrior, I get to move on to the next one now. That's essentially what you're trying to turn him into.
But with a maximum output of he could never have more than 5. 4 + 1 for the charge.
I think this would benefit from an FAQ just to understand the intent. I'd also be curious if anybody in the audience has an opinion on this or has seen like probably something we missed, or how does everybody else play it? Because A lot of
Yeah.
times consensus writes the rules just by consensus. So even though that's
100% agree with you, Matt. And I thought this was fascinating because Gullivar has been such a, well, not in 2020. In 2019, Gullivar was such a popular hero at tournaments. I'm very curious. I have never played against Gullivar in a tournament. I am very curious to see if anybody else has run into this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
because that's really if you do regain it, and that's a big if you regain it during the combat, I've seen a lot of people who have to waste Gullivar's might on a heroic combat to get him back up to full speed, or to at least get him out of trouble. So if he is no longer having to burn might to regain wounds and become scary, this model just got a lot more efficient for 200 points.
Well, it's still a huge gamble. Nope, never mind. I take it back because you can save your might to make sure you win the combat. No warriors are over fight 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. It's a huge detractor from somebody trying to blitz on Gullivar. So you're going to be emphasizing spear supports and anything you can do to keep people out of direct base contact with Gullivar.
My honest problem is throughout this argument, I'm like, yeah, Mitchell's right. And then I'm like, no, Marcus is right. The way the rule is written doesn't allow you to draw a clear conclusion, which I think begs an FAQ.
Well, in the way we were talking about this in our Seattle group, the way I'm going to start playing this is more simple, because we had this really cool discussion of the more simple the rules are, the more fun it is to play. When you're actually playing the game and rolling dice, it's a better experience. So I am going to be playing that Gullivar's attack characteristic, Mitchell, as you pointed out, would be locked in permanently at the start of the fight for the entire duration of the fight, and cannot be modified mid-fight.
But I would agree with Matt that I need an FAQ on this. If an FAQ comes out and says, yeah, that's perfectly legal, I'd be okay with it. I'm only arguing against it, not because I think you're wrong, but because it doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, it seems against the intent of the way they set it up.
Which, guys, we never get FAQs for things we actually care about.
That's true.
We are going to learn how Legolas's deadly shot should be applied and played. We will
and how
Floyd's
special.
Yeah, Floyd's.
Yeah, Floyd and Legolas.
Lore master.
We're about to get another. We're about to get another FAQ, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Because February is when it will come out.
Yeah. All right. Now I have an ad hoc question for you guys that will actually not have an impact on me. Blinding light in Clash by Moonlight. You cannot see more than 12 inches to target. With blinding light up, you can, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's well established. So if Gandalf puts up blinding light, it's open season. Everybody can shoot.
It hurts you.
But you only hit on 6s.
Right.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, you only hit on 6s.
But you have you can shoot across the board as long as you're in range of your normal shooting weapon range, and you still get the +1 bonus. It's just you're not limited in your range.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, here's my question.
Also goblins are not affected, but go ahead.
All right. Now that we have that established, here's my question. My current favorite profile in the game, Lady of Light. She has a blinding light type effect with the light of Ariendel, but it doesn't say it's blinding light. It just gives you the -6, or you have to have a 6 to hit. Does Galadriel permanently come with a blinding light effect so she can be seen in Clash by Moonlight? I think no, because it doesn't say it, but it is the light of however you say his name.
I'm
Ariendel, I think.
I'm gonna let you guys.
Hold on, I gotta really pull this up. Hold on. I'll look up blinding light. You look up the rule. I'm looking up blinding light.
Okay. Well, Mitchell, I've got them both right here because of they're both on her profile. So let me read this verbatim. They shouldn't both be on it, but okay. Shooting attacks that are direct. So it's a passive special rule.
Okay.
Shooting attacks that are directed against Galadriel, Lady of Light, or any model within 6 inches of her will only hit on a 2-hit roll of 6. It does not say it's blinding light.
Right.
Right.
So I would interpret that as she's got a lot of light, but it doesn't let you see her in Clash by Moonlight more than 12 inches away.
I agree, because in blinding light, it adds the same sentence, but then it says, additionally, in an area within 12-inch radius around the caster is illuminated as if it was daylight. So that is added to blinding light, whereas that sentence is not added to glide drills. So even though it should be, I think, it is not.
Okay. Marcus, you agree?
I agree with you guys. I think that one is weird, but I think the caveat that the blinding light specifically says illuminated and the clash by moonlight, what we've already said.
It does
That's
say
why I
as
agree.
if it was daylight. And I think
Yep.
actually blinding light was FAQ'd. Was Galadriel's vial included in with that FAQ?
I do
No.
not believe it was.
So then we have confirmation that blinding light does illuminate for daylight for clash by moonlight. However, Galadriel's vial.
Confirmation, but we're not going to go look up. We'll do it during the editing. We're not going to go look through all the FAQs right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think
there's
Mara
the
right.
ad hoc questions, so you guys can see their reaction live. Well,
So
Dave's
here
gonna-
is, so to make this cheeky, here's the scenario. Gandalf is in the back line, 24 inches away. He pops blinding light. You can see Gandalf. There is a warband between you and Gandalf. You shoot through that warband. Do you need a to-hit roll of 6 if you oh yeah, I guess you still would, because you need to hit before you roll in the whiz.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you could
Roll
still
a
hit in the
6 and
way.
it-
So
to hit
what
those
you-
people
The
closer.
scenario you're trying to say, Marcus, is if blinding light is in between you and a warband that's outside of range of blinding light, and you target the warband behind, and then you hit them, but then you have it in the way of Gandalf. So you hit on your normal 3+ to hit, but you have it in the way of Gandalf, and so you randomly hit him, even though you didn't have to roll a 6 to hit him. Is that what you're trying to say?
Same concept, but totally opposite in the fact
Okay.
that so Gandalf is further away. So in Clash by Moonlight, you can't target anybody if they're not within 12 inches. So
Oh,
let's
I
say
see.
the warband is 13 inches, so I can't legally target them, but I can shoot at Gandalf who's behind them, but then hit them on the in the way rolls.
Yes.
So that
good.
would be a way to legally target them,
Mhm.
Yes.
which is, I think it follows your exact same logic you laid out in the inverse, where you are shooting at somebody behind, but you get through Gandalf in the way. I think the same concept applies,
Yes.
but just slightly different.
Yes.
And I will say that the FAQ agrees with you, because they FAQ'd, it was either an FAQ or it was the rules writer writing a commentary where he said you can get rid of Crabane by shooting behind the Crabane, and then the away
Yep.
in the way gets them. So it's
That's
the same.
your,
Yeah.
Yes.
that's your
Yes.
official.
Which I think is funny. By the way, little side note, I always love when Jay comments on something, because all he does is like point at the comment above, or he just
Yeah.
says this. Like, It's always so funny. Or he'll just be bland. It says always, so therefore it's always.
Yeah.
No, I love
Baller
it.
out.
Like,
Yes.
what did he say he doesn't post very often, but one of the last posts I saw was he made this snarky comment like, it's almost like we were intending to say exactly what we said.
That was awesome.
It was so funny.
So
Always love
I've got another bonus question for you guys. So rules. We're gonna get into the realm of banners and banner effects. I've never really considered this. So here's the use case, pretty simple. We
Okay.
know it's a standard banner, warrior banner, 3 inches.
Mhm.
Let's say you have a fight that is within 3 inches. So you have a friendly model that's within 3 inches. But the use case is one, let's say 2 models. One's a normal sword and shield. The other guy's a 2-handed.
Okay.
If the friendly fight is within range of the banner, but not all models are within the range of the banner, do you have to specify which model gets the benefit of the reroll? Because the sticky point here is if the regular guy isn't within range, do you have to do the banner reroll on the 2-handed weapon, which is -1 on the duel? Or
So,
is the
yeah.
fact that the banner, because the banner says if the friendly fight is within range of the banner, you get to reroll 1 dice in the duel. And the FAQs specifically say it has to be a friendly model that's within range of the fight. You can't have an enemy model within range of that 3 inches, but it doesn't specify anything about the models, wear gear, et cetera, et cetera. So
as long as it's, yeah.
Yeah, but it says for a model to benefit, I don't know that I have rules backing, but I would say if it only touches the guy who's got the two-handed, then the two-handed has to use it.
So I agree with you, Matt, that's how I've played it for years. And then this question came up, so I went and read it. And if it's okay, I'm just going to read the banner.
do it.
Please.
Do it.
A banner provides a single reroll to two friendly models who are involved in a fight within 3 inches. Whether it is the model fighting on their own or several friends all fighting against a common enemy, you can reroll 1d6 in each duel roll to see who wins. This roll can be made after your opponent has rolled their own dice to see who wins, but must be made before might points are spent to adjust the scores.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense that the banner must be flying, and that's talking about, if it's on the ground, it can't be used and stuff like that. Right. Yeah, it is possible to re-roll, and then your opponent might want to re-roll. And that's pretty much it. And then it goes on to passing the banner on.
Go ahead. Sorry, Mitch. Go ahead.
Sorry. All I wanted to point out there was I was agreeing with you, Matt, that it says, nope, you have to be in range to benefit from the banner, but it just says friendly models involved in a fight within 3 inches. And then they FAQ'd that it has to be a friendly model in range, not just in range of the fight, but one of your friendly models has to be in range. But it doesn't call out specifically that is the only friendly model that can reroll. It just says friendly models can benefit from the banner when they're within 3 inches and involved in fight.
Well, I hear the exact same thing, but in the interpretation, I think the way it starts talking about friendly models, it's trying to say only one model in that range can benefit the way you read it. So it's saying you don't get 3 rerolls, you get 1, but you have to be in range to get it. So I don't know.
And I agree, but how they're spinning it now, I agree with you, Matt, but how they're spinning it is, okay, I have a two-handed model that is in range of the banner. Therefore, I have a friendly model in range of a banner that is involved in a combat. So one of my models in the combat can re-roll a d6, and that's how they're spinning it.
And and somebody in our Seattle group here pointed out the scenario that if you had 2 models that charged a Mumak on the oval long ends of the Mumak base, one is within 3 inches, the other one is 10 inches away, and the other one's the non-two-handed. So the model that's 10 inches away would get the effect of the banner.
Which doesn't seem right to me, which is why I would argue against it, which is why I've always played it. The model that's in range of the banner is the one that gets to reroll. But as he pointed out to me, it doesn't actually specifically call that out. It just says friendly models get to reroll 1d6. As long as you just roll 1, you get to reroll 1d6. It doesn't say who has to reroll it.
Yes.
And I'm totally caught out on this because I had a total brain meltdown trying to think through this earlier because Mitchell, you and I were, I think, on the exact same page. Yes. We were like, absolutely no. Wait, on second thought.
Yes. And it was hard for me to say, it's kind of a, Condish chariot kind of thing, well, technically, I guess you're right.
Here's how I handle that. You get a really condescending look. You conjure the voice of Saruman. You put both hands on the table and you say, if that's how you'd like to win this, go ahead, but make sure you take a shower afterwards. And then they won't do it.
I love
and
the way
never play you again.
What's that meme of that guy in the basketball game that's got his hands on his hips like, really? Yeah. No, I think we're all on the same page on that one.
I don't know what that page is, but I will agree we're on the same page.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you can't really argue against it. However, we all play it the same way. If whoever's in range of that's the one that gets to reroll. I hate saying that was the intention of the rules writers because I don't know what their intention was when they write it. But to me, it kind of seems like that's what was intended when they wrote that rule. I don't know.
This is why I always place my banner out of any strategic range with my bad play to avoid issues like this.
Your bad play was really just to enhance the overall experience of the game and to reduce confusion.
It's to reduce arguments about rules.
Very good. That's the total list of rules I had written down, or rules questions I had written down. So if you guys have any others, jump in right now. And if the listeners have any others, please keep submitting them. They're super fun to work through and to think about. And I love hearing the unique situations people find themselves in games outside of the Seattle area, because we've tapped, I think, a lot of our weird use cases.
Keep them
Yep.
coming.
We also have a YouTube channel now, so you can lay those comments down on there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's a great place to do it. So, all right. So the other part of this episode, wanted to talk about, again, restating. We have a tournament next weekend. The tournament next weekend is in North Carolina. It's the Great Battles of the Carolinas. I'm going to pull up the actual name of the event to make sure I don't screw that up. It is a 1-day, 1,000 point Army list.
Casual 1,000.
Casual 1,000. Always casual 1,000. 3-game event. So this is bring your best beat stick army or non-beat stick army. Bring your best 1,000 points. You got to win 3 games, and you've got to do it because of the size of the event. I think there's 24 people.
Actually, it's more than that. It's 30.
It's 30 people now. It's
Yeah.
a 30-person 3-game event, which means this event is not going to be, can you win all of your games? It's going to be, can you win all of your games and have major victories and have maximum VP differential? Because you're going to have at least 4 to 6 or 7 people that all have the exact same score, and it's going to go to the third
tiebreaker, yeah.
The third tiebreaker of victory points. So it's going to be critical to maximize victory points in every single game.
So what army can you bring that will get 12 VPs every game? Like, yeah, that's the idea.
With the best odds of army matchup and scenario matchup, without the complexity of having to survive a 5 or 6 game event.
So as we're planning this, we did not know the scenarios. We did not know the tables.
We still don't.
We know the tables now.
And the scenarios.
And the scenarios.
Wait, what? They posted?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I've missed this. Guys, share with me. This will be a live
reaction.
reaction.
After everybody submitted their lists, he posted the scenarios.
Which I think is brilliant, because I'm kicking myself as soon as he posted them.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, if only I knew it. So it was great, because I still get to plan for it and kind of like think about possible scenarios in my head of how I want to play the list. But at the same time, yeah, it was great, because I'm not totally prepared for the event, because it was still a blind list build, essentially.
Right.
You're keeping me in suspense here. What are the tournament? What are the scenarios?
Round one is going to be...
Hold on. This is going to make or break every army. That's all I want to say. That some armies will do... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
looking this up now.
Yeah. Round 1 is going to be Lords of Battle. Round 2 is Capture and Control. Round 3 is Reconnoiter.
Oh, my army's going to be great.
I was trying to make him panic there for a second.
Lords of Battle, Recon, and Capture and Control.
Capture and Control is the second one. Recon's the third.
Right. Fair. I like it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what we're going into now.
And we know the tables too. I'll have to go look for pictures of the boards they're posting.
And next Friday, the day before the tournament, he'll post what table and what our opponent is game 1.
Opponent with their army, or just the name of the person?
No, he's not posting armies. He is just posting tables and scenarios. And
Okay.
the day
Round
before,
1 opponent.
he'll post the round 1 opponent.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Oh man, that's gonna be super. That's gonna be super awesome.
I told him to give me Marcus round 1.
I can bring it. You have such a great record, round 1 against me.
I just want a
Well,
rematch. I want a rematch of Dwalin versus Gilgalad, and I hope it repeats itself.
No, we've already established I will never not heroic strike with Gilgalad when I can.
Marcus will do
Dwalin
that
has
and then
ruined
lose the 50-50 roll off and be like, well, I guess I shouldn't have wasted the point of mine anyway.
Hey,
No.
I will lose. It's not even 50-50. I will lose the 30-60 roll off. But I will know that I didn't do it like I did the first time in humiliating fashion. I will take that loss. I will take that loss.
In your defense, it was Dwalin on foot, so it was very unlikely what happened, but it's still...
Just stop talking. Like, You're making it worse. Gilgalad died with 4 attacks, and he wasn't even knocked over.
No.
Okay. But okay, so we're teasing lists. What are you guys taking? I would love to hear the army. A quick synopsis as we go through this last segment pretty quickly. But what army you're taking, what you're hoping to achieve / what we're going to come back to when we do the bat reps, how your army performed, and then maybe a quick note on why you took this army and would it have changed if it was 800 points? Because I had a lot of back and forth with an army that I love at 800 points that I decided not to take because I got freaked out at 1,000 points. So I know we've talked about it a few times, but in the context of the event we're going to next weekend, I think it'd be fun to highlight. So Mitchell, you're first.
I've kind of teased it earlier, but I had a list originally at 1,000 that I built back in October. And I was really, really proud of this list. This was a lot of fun. I don't normally go for like a mishmash of alliances and stuff, but I did. And it was Treebeard from Fangorn, it was Galadriel from Lothlorien, and also Haldir from Lothlorien. And then I allied in also Arathorn, because he's the only Valor hero, but to get Halbarad and a banner. So I had a 6-inch banner with Fearless, Halbarad, I had 15 might, 40-something models, monster, magic, everything. And then the comments started coming out about how Celeborn was not worth his points and stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of Celeborn.
Wait, what comments?
Where's that man's horse?
Exactly. So I swapped the list around and I went for more of my pure, because I do run this at 800 a lot, which is Galadriel, Celeborn, Treebeard, which I've told on the podcast before. But I just upped it to 1,000 and I added Rumil. So basically it's the same thing. I have Treebeard with Merry and Pippin. I have Galadriel. I have Celeborn with all his stuff. I have Rumil, who is my...
Does he come with both fists?
Yes.
And a dagger?
Yes. That
His
too.
pajamas.
Yes. He's taken his pajamas and he's worn them underneath. That way he can have both. Anyways. So, and then Rumil, so that you have your parrying guy that's annoying for...
Does he have to ask Galadriel what he can take in his war gear?
Hey, Mom.
Galadriel laid out his outfit before the battle. Let's see. I have... It looks like
This guy sounds like such a pansy, and he's like a freaking Lord of the West. Like, what happened?
He's still great. That's why I'm taking him. I'm here to prove a point. Stop bashing.
Galadriel, Rumil, and Haldir are going. Can't I do it?
All right. So, with them accompanying, so those are my 4. Well, actually, it's technically 6 heroes, but I don't count Merry and Pippin unless that way I'm hoping my opponent doesn't forget them so that they can drop onto an objective. Or if I have Fog of War.
Oh, yeah.
Treebeard, Galadriel.
No, of course I tell him.
Haldir and Rumil.
No, Haldir. Not Haldir.
Oh,
Haldir was in my last version. I swapped. I did Haldir and Galadriel original because I had to have maximum models, but I swapped them for Rumil. Yep.
Keep going.
So it is Celeborn, Rumil, Galadriel, Treebeard, Merry, Pippin. 14 Galadriel warriors with shield. 4 Galadriel warriors with spear and shield. 4 Wood Elf warriors with spear and bow. And then here's the big one. 8 guards of the Galadriel court. Those are really fun. And 3 Wood Elf sentinels. So in this list, that's 1,000 points. That's 40 models. I have the Treebeard, the monster.
3 sentinels. Holy cow.
Yeah, I have Treebeard, who is the monster. I have Galadriel, who is the magic caster. I have the backup magic caster / enforcer, which is Celeborn, who can do either make my army fearless, power up himself for enchanted blades, or someone else, or he can do an immobilize on a troll in case, or just to drain a hero's will, And I have Rumil, who is supposed to go into the enemy leader as long as it's not worth VPs or something big, parry them and frustrate them. And then I have 3 sentinels to move all your models and get them closer to Treebeard.
Yes.
So I did play a test game with this. and a couple of test games. One of my test games was against, because my other list I was considering was Depths of Moria. So I decided, hey, 1 and 2, I'll just play them against each other and see what I like. And Rumil and a Treebeard against a Balrog is unfair because the Balrog would finally roll his 6 and then have to re-roll his 6. So it was completely unfair going up against a Balrog. My other test game was against Sauron, which was extremely fun because, ironically, we were playing Reconnoiter. But that one was a slugfest, and he had the mobility because he had some Morgul Knights and some Warg Riders. But anytime they would get close to slipping around the edge, my Sentinel would drop out and pull them towards the middle. So they were excellent defenders.
3 of them. That's a surprising amount. They can shoot, so you're getting offensive firepower out of them. They've got lots of spells. They have 3 spells.
2 attacks.
2 attacks. Fight 5. Yep.
How many wounds?
1 wound, D3. So they're very
1
fragile.
wound.
But basically they have the Elven Cloak. So that's what you bank on. So basically Sauron did eventually Chill Soul too because I had to move them, but he couldn't even target them with Chill Soul because I always
they're
had them
next to
behind a
terrain.
barricade. I had them behind a barricade.
Yeah.
Man. Well, and I guess, we've talked about optimal model count, and 40 is good for 800, which means 40 is good for 1,000 because 1,000 most of the time is just super upgraded lists that are exactly what you see at 800 points.
And you've got a defense for everybody's favorite ballista that they bring at 1,000. So you've got blinding light.
And and throw stones. So you've got you said 4 Wood Elf bowmen.
Yeah. So I originally had
7
8
shots.
Yeah, 7 shots, correct. I originally had 8 Wood Elves plus the 3 Sentinels. That was 11, and I found that was too much D3 in the army. It was once they got to my Wood Elves, even though I could shield, it did break a lot faster. So I opted to get more D6 in there. So I just kind of halved it.
In Lords of Battle and in Capture and Control, you have a huge opportunity to make your opponent run at you, and with your 7 elf bows plus Treebeards throwing stones. You have the potential to put some serious damage before you can boost the score ahead of time. And Treebeards throw stone, it's scary. I've been on the receiving end of that several times. It's strength 10.
Yeah,
it's
strength
10. That's
range 18-inch
kicker.
range with a 4+ hit. Yep.
So you can shoot twice.
Yeah.
And so you're going to force people to close that gap.
So just to
18-inch
say,
range is killer.
So Nazgul absolutely get terrified of Treebeard because all I need is 1 lucky 3+ to wound a Nazgul with a strength 10 rock.
Well, you'd have to hit the.
Yeah, you have to hit them, but it's just a 3+ to wound on a Nazgul. Yeah.
And because you shoot outside their fly range, they have to sacrifice the fact that you will be shooting at them once. Yeah, it's filthy. So I think that's awesome for Capture and Control, and more so for Lords of Battle. Reconnoiter, Treebeard, I doubt will ever be throwing a stone because you're going to be positioning and moving him. But 2 out of the 3 scenarios, holy cow.
Reconnoiter will be the challenge, obviously. If I don't, so in that game I rolled, and Treebeard and Gladriel came on immediately. Rumil and Celeborn rolled 1s. Next turn, Treebeard kind of moved forward a little bit. Gladriel kind of positioned a little bit. Rumil and Celeborn rolled 1s again. The next turn, Rumil finally came on. Celeborn rolled another 1. And then finally the next turn, Celeborn rolled a 2, which became a 3. And I had to use a point of might because it was now time for Celeborn to come on. So I had very bad deployment rolls, but basically my only play at that point was kill the enemy leader and break the army. Those are the VPs. And since I had the Sentinels, I could prevent a lot of things from getting off the board. The problem was I was playing Sauron, who it's really hard to break the army because you have to reduce Sauron down to 3 wounds, and it's really hard to kill the enemy leader because it's Sauron. So that was the plays, but it was a very tight game. But I never felt, even though I had a few bad deployment things, I felt like the army still functioned pretty well. So we'll see how I can execute it.
Solid army.
Yeah, my only comment, because I think you're super set for the first 2 for recon. You cannot end turn 2 without your entire army on the board.
I have completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I would not do that. Now that I played that test game, I should have burned the might on turn 2.
Because you only need 1 point of might, because 1 goes to 2.
If you rolled a 1, you need
2 points.
You need 2 points. But I completely agree with you that they have to be on turn 2, because it just screwed me, and I ended up having to burn might anyways. So I agree with you. Burn the might now. Just play the army without might.
Especially get your whatever warband is in your sentinels are in. Get that one on.
There's 1 in each one. They're all balanced.
Yeah, so then even more so. All of those sentinels need to be on the board to start wrecking havoc, slowing your opponent down.
Yeah.
So it would suck if you rolled double 1s, back-to-back 1s for each warband, but
it was really cool to see because so Treebeard came on, and I didn't actually push him too far forward because Sauron was bearing down, and I wanted to wait for the rest of my guys to come on. Once they did come on, it was super cool because Treebeard moved 6 inches, and then a Sentinel compelled a guy 6 inches forward, so the guy came forward first, then Treebeard charged him, and then he did a hero combat another 6. So Treebeard essentially moved 12 inches that turn to line up which was super fun. But so those things play off pretty well, but we'll see.
I would challenge you this because I run into so many problems with Reconnoiter, Mitchell. Yeah. If you roll any 3s, so Galadriel has 3 might, Treebeard has 3 might, Rilmil has 3 might, Celeborn has 3 might.
Yes.
If you roll any 3s in turn 1, burn a point of might, get them on the board turn 1. If you roll a 1 or 2, risk the roll for the second one and be willing to burn whatever might necessary to get them on board.
I agree with that 100%. I'll allow. I would definitely burn 1 point of might. I would hesitate on the first turn more than 1 might, but absolutely turn 2, whatever it takes to get on the board. That's what it's going to take.
Awesome. That's going to be a super scary list, man.
Cool. Not as scary as your guys's, but we'll get into those.
I can go next. Mine's super simple, so it'll probably be fast. It's the Last Alliance combination. So we hinted at it. Gil-galad. I love Gil-galad. He's coming. He's making an appearance. It's going to be. He's my leader. Gil-galad. The Númenorian heroes are Elendil and Isildur. I'm bringing both of them. Elendil for his hero combat abilities, Isildur for his fight 6, strength 5 on a horse combination.
Doesn't get the ring, but still deadly.
Yeah, he's cheap. He's strength 5. That's going to be clutch for any D7 armies that could face against. Hint, hint. Round 1 against Matt. And then the last hero I have is Círdan, who is going to give me just that magical buff, the blinding light, the terrifying aura, the arrow of command, all of his powers. So those are my 4 heroes. I am bringing a banner, which Mitchell, I forgot if you had a banner in your army.
I do have a banner. Yes.
Okay, so we both wasted points there, but.
Yeah, but I didn't mention this also because we built the list and then submitted them and then he released the scenarios. There was also a decision: do you make Galadriel your leader or do you make Treebeard? And just because you don't want to see Contest of Champions with Galadriel as your leader, I did opt to make Treebeard my leader. So I'm locked in with that. However, now that I see the scenarios, I'm kicking myself. I didn't just gamble and make Galadriel the leader. But so Treebeard's my leader. And I do have a banner in there as well, which I'm not as sorrowful as you are because I tend to find that the Treebeard loves a banner. So
And
whereas your heroes
in elites too, at least.
Yeah.
So it's not a total waste. If I was running like orcs or Urukai, it might be like, that sucks. But okay, so a quick rundown of the overview. So it's all of the warbands are filled with a mix of warriors. So Elendil is bringing 12 warriors with swords and shields and spears. The more spears than shields. I find that the Númenorians, because of low defense, you're going to get a couple sniped out, and because of making sure I'm maximizing to get to 1,000 points, I added a few extra spears in the Númenorian side. So I'm a little spear heavy, but I'll come back to that. There's a reason for it. Gil-galad is bringing some Kingsguard. That's what they're called. And those are the fight 6 elven warriors. So those have shields, spears, and they're the upgrade. He's got 6 of those. He's got 7 just regular shield and spears. So yes, I said that. That's now 13 total spears. That's not a mistake. He's got the banner with him. Círdan has 5 elf bows, 1 elf warrior with a shield, and the Isildur is bringing 4 more spearmen. So tons of spearmen. The reason for this, number 1, I had points to spare, and number 2, I thought even if I cash in all of those spears for an extra model, the utility of being able to have the extra spears, I think, is more valuable than 1 model. So I am also.
It also doesn't change your break point. I'll point that out because you're at 40. So adding 1 more model would bring you to 41, which means your break point is still 20 and a half, which means 21 will still break you. So no matter what.
That's a very good point as well. And I'm only taking 5 bows, so that also no consideration there. The extra spears for this combination is really nice because ultimately, if I could pick my perfect lineup, it would be elves with the shields in front, Numenor with the spears behind, because then I have the higher defense in front, but the strength 4 is still contributing. So having the extra spears allows me to maybe move some people left and right to try and help set up those battle lines. They're all coming in different war bands, but whatever. That's it. All 3 heroes. All 3 heroes are on horse. That can be on horse. The one thing that I'm actually doing for the first time, and Matt, this is because of you, I'm not taking a shield with Elendil. I've always taken a shield with Elendil to make him D8. I am not taking a shield with Elendil because the clarification that you highlighted, he's always going to be fighting with his hand and a half sword as a 2-handed weapon. You can't get the benefit of a shield if you're fighting with a 2-handed weapon. And he's never going to be in a situation where he's not fighting with that extra bonus to try and get the hero combat to go off. So I'll have to be a lot more careful, a lot more conscious about keeping him protected in case there's some sort of ballista or some sort of bolt thrower shooting at him. Make sure he's under blinding light, make sure there's in the ways. But that's 5 points I freed up to help add some spears.
Nice. Good move.
I think it's a good move because, again, I completely forgot about it, too, that you're technically using a 2-handed weapon. Technically, you don't get your +1 defense. Yep. I will note that, you don't get it against if you're not fighting, so like shooting attacks, which sucks, so you don't get your D8 against shooting. You don't get to shield, but I don't think Elendil will ever want to shield, so I agree with the move. So.
With Fortified Spirit, I would hope I'm never in a situation where I'm shielding.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with it.
So that's the army. I am super stoked to hear the scenario. So number 1, Lords of Battle. I feel like that's a strength because my heroes are munchy heroes. Elendil combating, strength 5, +1 to wound. Isildur on a horse, strength 5. Gil-galad, strength 4 but +1 to wound with his spear on a horse. All of these heroes are made for killing warriors as fast as possible.
And not much to slow them down. So you said Gil-galad's your leader?
Gil-galad is my leader because I do not want Elendil to be ever hesitant about popping his heroic combat. So yes, he's got the Fortified Spirit. Yes, my leader is now susceptible to magical powers or getting shut down slightly, but it's safer in my mind to have Elendil always be free, always be confident in striking out and going for those crazy combats and slingshots.
I do find it funny that Elendil has Fortified Spirit, Isildur's resistant magic, all your Numenorean warriors are resistant magic, but the elves are not. So it's ironic that the elves are the one that's susceptible in this army to being shut down. But I do like it. Yeah, very, very powerful. Going to be hard to stop.
I'm hoping to play, so I've never actually played this combination. I've never played this army at 1,000 points, but my high-level strategy is going to be exactly the same at 800 points. Elendil do his thing, Gil-galad do his thing, but passively, because you got to make sure he doesn't get one shot. In this 1,000-point model, I'm going to be very aggressive with both Elendil and Gil-galad, and Isildur is going to be Gil-galad's little bodyguard. Isildur is always going to be mirroring, shadowing within threat range of Gil-galad to help protect against somebody blitzing him. And all of my heroes, hopefully, if we're playing right, all of my heroes will be together and synergizing. But if I do find myself in a situation where I have to split or separate my focus, Isildur is going to be babysitting Gilgalad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Lords of Battle, excited for that one. Capture and Control, excited for that one because I have the Terrifying bubble from Círdan. I can camp on some objectives. I've got threat range because all of my heroes are mounted. I've got blinding light so nobody can shoot me off. I've got a few bowmen that I can put on a back objective and pester. I feel like that's a really solid.
If you get on,
me.
Yeah, get on an objective, it's going to be hard to push you off of it because you got the fight, you got the elven made weapons, you got the heroes. Yeah, so if you plant yourself on an objective, you're going to be doing pretty well.
And then Reconnoiter, I feel like I have as good a shot as anybody because my heroes can go left and right to stop a blitz. Elendil's heroic combating, so I can really slingshot to go get somebody. And with the heroic combats, I can slingshot my own warriors to start threatening to push for the board, so I can get a combat, launch a warrior towards the board edge, but then Elendil's still mopping up. I feel like that's even though I only have 3 mounted units total, I feel like that's also a really strong scenario for me.
Yeah, what's your might count? Because Isildur's got 3, Gilgalad's got 3, Elendil's got 3, Círdan's got 1, so you're at 10 might?
10 might total.
Yeah, so Círdan is the one I would worry about on recon coming on late, but yeah, no, you're definitely set up as well as anybody else.
Similar to your strategy, Mitchell. If I roll a 3 on turn 1, I'm spending Círdan's might.
Yeah.
And similar to you, turn 2, all of my warbands will be on the board unless I roll double ones with Círdan.
Or if you even roll 2s, because that's unaffected. Yeah,
same. So if unless I cannot modify the roll with Círdan, I will burn all resources to make sure my warbands will be on the board by turn 2.
Okay. Good.
So,
all right, Matt, what do you got?
So I am bringing Champions of Erebor with a twist.
Oh, okay. Show us off.
Show off.
Yeah.
All right.
He's got his list pulled up on screen now. Okay.
Now I'm gonna go send mine to myself.
So my strategy at 1,000 points and knowing the people who are holding the tournament is it's going to be beautiful boards, lots of terrain. So right off the bat, I was thinking model count isn't going to be a huge issue because there's going to be enough terrain to be able to pick my fights, regardless of scenario. So 39 models in the army. Thorin on a goat. He's leading 12 Iron Hills warriors with spear, and he's got a goat rider with him. Then you got Dane on the pig. He's got 14 Iron Hills warriors with spear and a pig. A goat rider. Dwalin on a goat with 6 Iron Hills warriors with spear and crossbow, and he's got a goat rider with him. And then the twist at the end is Galadriel, Lady of Light. Idea of the army is the champions do what they do. You've got, I would say, 3 beat sticks, 2 of them with +1 to wound, Thorin with heroic combats, and you've got the
powerful Lady of Light.
The Lady of Light, who here, her primary purpose is, of course, to make sure that my big guys aren't getting shut down by magic. She can throw Fortify Spirit up. I'm really not too worried about archery. I am worried about ballistas with this army, so she protects me against that. And she's no slouch in combat. If I go up against a non-magic army, she's no victory points on the table, and fight 6, 3 might, heroic strike. She can go wade in if I need to.
3 attacks, yeah.
Yeah, she's no slouch.
One thing I did notice about her, because I was looking at the 2 profiles, is she has the strike, but not the defense, whereas my Galadriel has the defense. So while she is a great combat hero and rerolls her fate, that's the only thing I worry about is if you get a mounted person knocking her down. No, it's probably 3s or 4s to wound her.
Exactly. She can go down. I will say, though, that it just depends. If it's a opponent moving first, I play passively with the goat riders in the back to be able to come in and bail out. I did that in several practice games, and it works. If I'm moving first, I can make sure she's protected. The only time that won't work is obviously since we drew Reconnoiter in the 3rd round, Goat riders are going to have to be fairly aggressive getting off the board, so that strategy I'll have to be a little careful, but she can go down quickly. But she's got no VPs, and unless it's Magic Army.
Yeah, and exactly. Unless it's a Magic Army where you're relying on that Fortify Spirit. But no, this is a really tough list because you're D8 a lot of places. D8. You have 3 beat 6 heroes. Does Dan get his Master of Battle?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer, but still, that's you have your
Thorin's
Fearless. Yeah, Thorin's combating. You have your Fearless from Dan. You had the Fortify Spirit. Yeah, you got your Anti-Banish. You have your Instill Fear. You got the -1 of Courage. Yeah, you're good.
So exactly. Matt, you even have a better. Well, first of all, I'll say I'm a little concerned on your model count. It seems a little light at 39 models. I wish it was. I'm totally joking. Mitchell's and I at 40. We're
I know.
all in the same boat.
We are all in the same boat.
You actually have on Reconnoiter, you have an even better ability to have a Goat Rider. I don't think you need to play aggressive because Thorin, with a Goat Rider in a combat, you can slingshot your Goat Rider out of a combat to a safe zone. So they can play passive until Thorin's heroic combat goes off, and then you can fling them to the end of the board, and they get a free 10 inches of movement.
Yeah.
8 inches.
Yeah, 8 inches. Sorry.
Yeah. And
those goats may be better than horses, but they're not that much better.
Well, and the other sneaky thing is a lot of people forget Dane's got March. So you don't want to be using Dane's Might for March, but in Reconnoiter, in the right scenario, maybe that does play out.
Absolutely, yeah. Great call. Especially if you see your opponent not doing the strategy of burning all their resources to come on, and they are coming on late. When you have so many beat sticks that can throw up combat and just get off the board, I would absolutely be calling marches then, to get across if they're not on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk situation, Mitch. I completely agree. I don't have March in my list, but if I have warbands that are sticking and you're on that, would you be down to burn 2 of Dane's Might to March and absolutely press your advantage on the middle of the board to try and overwhelm your opponent early? Or would you be willing to take the advantage of having your models on earlier and save Dane's Might?
It really depends what the army build out is. If because dwarves, even on a march, they're moving 8 inches.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that aggressive. But if you can get the cavalry doing it, then
2 moves of march, though, then you basically got an entire turn advantage. Plus, your opponent's not coming on right away, so that's either 2 turns or 3 turns of move advantage.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: if it is a board where it forces them to go up the middle because of the terrain, absolutely. If it's a board that's spread out and they have like 4 different channels to get across the board, the answer is probably no, because if I commit to the middle and they can just come on a corner and get around me without having to meet me, and I'm then burning a march to get off to the side, I'd wait. So it really depends on board setup. Just the way I'd play it, which is usually wrong.
Very, very powerful, very, very scary. Obviously, actually, I see this one as really good. If I had to match up against it, I would not be liking my matchup because you're D8 in a lot of places. You have Fortify Spirit, so Gladriel is basically useless for me. You have a lot of Strength 4, so my D8 hero doesn't do much. Yeah, I'd be scared of this list.
Lords of Battle, I feel like this army is going to be hard to. I don't know what army could outperform this.
In Lords of Battle, yes, I agree. Yeah.
I'm sure we'd find one.
Maybe
one with lances. Maybe a lot of burly dudes.
Like Elendil and Gilgalad, maybe.
But I mean, the thing that Matt has that I don't. So I have 3 heroes that are punching power. He's got 3 heroes that are, significant punching power. But his warriors, on average, will kill more people than mine. Because your warriors are strength 4, Matt, right?
Yep.
The Iron Hills. So
strength 4 D7 with shield wall. Yeah.
Your
Fearless.
warriors. yeah, your warriors will do more output on average. So maybe our heroes are equal, or maybe I have an advantage, maybe you have an advantage, but your warriors, I think, on a killing power, definitely have the advantage, especially with your crossbows.
Yeah.
Those 6 crossbows are going to be nasty.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Capture and control, I feel like we're all in the same
That-
boat. 39 models. You'll be able to press.
That-
You have some crossbows to shoot across, so you're not going to have to sit on all of them. Your goat riders can go flip them to your side, and then you can leave them and then shoot people off if they try to go.
Dwarves
Stop
on
them at the
capture
end.
and control is almost unfair because their biggest hindrance is their movement, and you deploy on the middle of the board.
Yes.
So I really see you just rolling over people in capture and control.
Capture
Yeah.
and control is going to be very good for you.
I
Man,
never
this is
I never thought I'd say this, but like as I was writing this list, because it's 2021 and I don't have to take Corsairs, I was actually missing my Corsairs. I was like, man, I can get a lot of stuff at 1,000 points. Imagine how much Harad would be thrown in there.
you have a problem.
Yeah.
This
Very
is going
nice.
to be fun. I can't believe the scenarios were posted. This changes everything. I've got so much to think about tonight.
And he put pictures of the tables so you can go stew over those too.
Oh, I'm going to. Oh, this is going to be fun. I have got some crazy painting to do this weekend. But I'm well on my way.
40 models to go.
So you just have to. You
No,
just have
39.
to 39 models to go.
I'm looking forward to this. So we'll have to come back. So our next episode will definitely be some bat reps. We'll talk about this 3 game event with 30 people and 3 games. This is going to be some super exciting. I mean, I'm hoping we all go 2-0, and so the last round is all of us trying for 3-0, and then it'll be a blitz to see who can maximize those VPs. But okay, it means Lords of Battle. Watch out for those hero v hero matchups because you need the kill count. You have to double your opponent.
So just talking a little strategy here, because I don't think I'm going to be playing either of you round 1. That's exactly why I brought 8 fight 6 guards into my list, because they just go into that hero. Okay, I'm fight 6 now with you. You're not going to be. If you do kill one guy, you're not hero combating off of it. Okay, and then now all my guys are doing whatever. And if it's something really bad like a Belrog, okay, Rumil's going into that Belrog hero defensing in case you do win it still, but I'm going to parry and make your Belrog lose after every turn.
Because there's no way unless something unbelievably happens, there's no way you're getting 3 times your model kill count. I will say, Mitchell, because of our game, if you go up against a mounted army,
yes,
especially looking at the list we just ran through, bite the bullet, go for the horse kill first to maximize those kills.
Yes.
Go for the horse kill first.
Especially on a mounted army because there's usually less model count anyways. So you're doubling the cavalry models essentially. So, yes.
And we're all resilient. We all have high skill, high strength, or high defense.
Just imagine if I get an orc army on Lords of Battle, because Thorin is the only one who's not potentially a beat stick, but with Okrist, he gets Goblin Bane, Urukai Bane, or Orc Bane, and he causes terror. So he'll all of a sudden become a hero killer at D3 wounds every orc. Plus the Bane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sorry, Shaggy.
I think this is one of the. So this is the one that I'm going to regret saying this, but I do hope I see cavalry armies.
Yeah.
Because I would love to set up the combo of a sentinel, pull it towards Treebeard, hero combat, run into the next one, and hurl down the line of cavalry models. I really want to set that.
That would be so cool just to see.
Yeah.
With 3 sentinels, Mitchell, you don't even have to burn a combat because you could bring 2 in and you could barge. So you could bring it close enough to where you can guarantee a barge, like within 1 inch. Or you can position with 3 sentinels, you can do so much against a cavalry army. It's not even requiring a hero combat.
And if by some reason they pass their courage test and they're like, yes, I survived the sentinel, Galadriel comes in and be like, I'll still pull you no matter what.
Hell yeah. No, you have 4 models that can move people, so that's going to work well with Hurl. So I feel like we all have a great opportunity to maximize VPs on Lords of Battle, on Capture and Control. I think it's going to be very dependent on who we face. I feel like capture and control is going to be the trap game. I really feel like capture and control is going to be the trap game.
Yeah, you can easily get sucked in and not think about the VPs or get outflanked. So yeah,
So
it's definitely
remember
about
the halftime. We've got to do the halftime.
yes,
Make
do the
sure you
halftime.
pause.
But this one I also want to emphasize to both of you. This is the one where you only get 1 point for a leader wound, not for kill. 1 point for breaking the force. So that's only 2 points. All other 10 points are in the 5 objectives. So no matter
play
what,
aggressive.
do not worry about the enemy leader. Do not worry about breaking the force. Make sure you get those objectives. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
This is the trap. So we talked about it, I think, in our last episode or the episode before. It's the importance of avoiding major loss. But in this case, since there's only 3 games, we are looking for major wins.
We have to double down. Yeah.
So we've got to play for. This is the
VPs,
new
yeah.
rule pack, right? So this is going to be this
No.
old rule. So you just have to win by 4.
Yes,
4
win
more.
by 4 or more VPs, and it's a major victory.
Okay, so this is going to be critical on the capture control because 4 VPs. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I wish it was the new rule pack. Totally changes the way you go about
I
it.
agree with you,
On capture
except
control, hell yeah.
the new rule pack favors low-scoring VPs because then if you 4-2, that you take a major. It sucks on high VP scoring. So if you score 10-8 or 10-6, then that is a minor win in the new rule pack. But
That's
major.
true.
So if you win 10-6 in the old one, that's a major. You win 10-6 in the new one, that's a minor. So
Yeah, that's true.
Our armies are built for the. So looking at our list, our armies are built for the high VPs. So this is going to be unfortunate for us because armies that win those scrappy
last minute VPs,
5, 10. Well, yeah, those crappy ones. Those armies are the absolute counters to our armies. Horde.
Yeah.
Crazy bowfire. I'm thinking Uruk-hai. I'm thinking Mordor, Moran, and Orcs. I'm thinking all of those combinations of. Normally we would be. It's the counter to our armies.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are going to be winning in games 1 and games 2. Those close ones.
No matter what happens, I just would like to see a goblin town in Lords of Battle to see Galadriel instill fear, clear the way, and then the Elven Blade go into the Goblin King and be like, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Matt,
Please.
do not say that. Please knock on wood right now, Matt, because knowing the luck that you have, you're going to draw Goblin Town on Reconnoiter and be cursing yourself.
No, I said Lords of Battle, not Reconnoiter.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
a very good point, Mitchell.
I was worried about that. If I see the scribe on Reconnoiter, I'm going to be just pounding the table. My Sentinels and Galadriel are just going to stay back the entire game and be like, please don't run off.
Yeah. That's an auto loss on.
It's a very.
Reconnoiter, that's an auto loss.
No, it's not an auto loss. Nothing's an auto loss.
Well, it's not, unless you get Galadriel by the scribe and minus the courage out, but I mean, who knows what.
I would say that I'm favorable because I have the Sentinels, but I would say also take courage because I doubt Goblin Town will be taking 2 major victories through Lords of Battle and through capture and control. So I would take.
They'll be in a bad spot from the first 2.
Yeah.
Let's think about this. So, assuming best case, and I don't want to drag this on too long, so I won't ramble. But assuming best case scenario, we all play well. Lords of Battle, major victory. Into round 2, we all play well, major victory. In round 3, Reconnoiter. This is going to set up an incredibly fun game because, again, you're going to have to maximize your VPs. So the matchup you have and the amount of aggressiveness you have to have in order to get off the board versus just defending, right? Because if this is a 6-game event and you knew you were in a comfortable place, you could play defensively, you could play passively. But knowing you only have 3 games and you have to maximize those VPs, we're all going to have to be playing more aggressive than we typically play, I feel like.
I'm getting really nervous with this 2-0 business right off the bat.
Yeah, as we all go 0-2.
I'm worried we're all going to go 0-2 on the first. It's not going to even matter.
Yeah, that's okay. You just throw that episode away, Mitchell.
We'll just cut this all out.
0-2 can always happen, but let's be optimistic. 2-0, and then we're on recon. And I've seen all of us play recon. I've played against all of us in recon. None of us play recon aggressively, except one time against Mitchell. I played aggressively, but we all play very passively, and that's like our catch game where we're minor victory is great. We're told all of us are very happy with the minor victory. So this will be
because we usually play slow moving, low model count armies, so that's why we're usually okay with the minor victory. That's why. But
Can't do it this time.
all right,
it'll be a blast. So more to come. It'll be a fun recap. Looking forward to the event. We're gonna do again. We'll take lots of pictures like we did last time. When we do the episode, we'll be able to pull up pictures of the boards, our lists. It will be a really interactive session, I think, and hopefully one of us is bringing home the gold.
we'll see.
So I need more confidence from Team Hammond. Come on. So
All right.
all right, guys, have a good one.
All right.
Yep.